So I thought I wanted to share. Um, it was, I don't know, a couple of years ago maybe. And I was half asleep. I was getting ready to go to sleep. I was working nights, sleeping days. Um, so it was in the afternoon. I was getting ready to go to sleep, and I had just glanced at my phone and seen a thing on Facebook. And there was a preacher. I recognized his name, but there was a preacher from the state of Maine. Was in the hospital, and the post said they think there's something wrong with his heart. He was having symptoms that were congruent with cardiac issues. And I thought to myself, that's really sad. And I was kind of bothered by it and praying for him in my mind as I was falling off to sleep. And I don't know if I was really sleeping or dreaming. It's hard to tell if it's a vision or a dream. It was like a dream, but I didn't know if I was really fully asleep. Anyway, I'm dozing off, and suddenly, in my mind, I'm standing right next to him. He's in the hospital bed, and I'm standing next to him, and I got my Bible, and I said, I've got a word for you. And he said, okay. I said, I gotta listen close. And I started reading in Genesis. You got something on your face? So I started reading in Genesis. I said, and God said, let there be light. And there was light. Okay, got it. And God said, let the dry land appear. And it did. And God said, let the earth bring forth fruit-bearing seed after its kind. And it did. And God said, and one thing after another in the book of Genesis, and God said, God said, God said, and it happened, it happened, it happened. And he was listening and following along. I said, I got one more for you. Okay. It's red letters, so you know who's talking, right? Yeah. Let not your heart be troubled. Instantly, I'm back in my bed, waking up out of this semi-dream. That was kind of unique. So the next day, after work, I was scrolling through Facebook and I seen a post, and it said, the word from the doctor is, they don't think it's my heart. Just makes me happy to think that maybe God used me, or at least allowed me to experience that as a building of confidence for my faith. Sometimes it's not about, well, really never, it's not really about us, but it boosts our faith when we can hear or see something and God answers. So, for example, gotta blow my nose for everybody. So, for example, many people know about Captain Sully and landing the plane on the Hudson River between New York and New Jersey. I don't remember the exact date, but I do remember I was a police officer in Maine, and I had just got off duty and I was on the way home. I was listening to the radio, and the guy came on the news and he talked about a plane crash. There was a plane that made an emergency landing in the Hudson River. And I thought, oh Lord, that can't be good. And I don't remember the date, but I do remember it was cold. Quite cold out. Maybe it was April, something like that. And I thought to myself, most of the people on the Titanic that died, I bet a lot of them froze or went into cardiac arrest because of the hypothermia. Probably some of them drowned, but I think a lot of them died from the weather. And I thought, man, if I was on that plane, these thoughts are all happening in split seconds. I thought, if I was on that plane, I sure wish somebody would be praying for me. And then I had this aha moment. I pulled over to the side of the road because it's dangerous for me to pray when I'm driving. Because I'm all or nothing. I pay attention to what I'm doing, and so I don't walk and chew gum at the same time because I can't pay attention to both. Pulled over the side of the road and prayed that God would keep them safe and that God would not allow anybody to freeze or drown or not have any life-threatening injuries, and that God would allow them to be seen and that help would be there soon. And I don't know, I spent a few minutes praying, sincere. And you don't have to pray for a day and a half to get God's attention. I mean, if you read the Bible, Elijah was on Mount Carmel and he prayed 63 words, he said. 63 words. And fire come down from heaven. It's not the length of your prayer. I think God knows your heart. I know God knows your heart. His word is a discerner of the thoughts and the intents of your heart. God's not impressed with much talking. He knows what you think. Just tell him what you think. You can talk to him like you talk to a friend, and it's not a cliche. You can just have an open, honest conversation, but it doesn't have to be an all-day talk like I'm doing right now. The point is, you can pray for a few minutes and God totally understands. He gets it. So I pulled over, said a prayer for a few minutes on the side of the road, and then drove home. The next time I was listening to the news a day or two later, I heard that everybody survived. Nobody had life-threatening injuries. That nobody died. Nobody drowned. Nobody froze. Everything was fine. And I am absolutely certain, although I didn't hear it, I'm absolutely certain I was not the only one praying. But to me, it was an answer to my prayer. It builds faith when you pray and God answers. And you could be praying around the altar for somebody to get healed, and maybe there's 10 people praying, and I might be one of 10. The person gets healed. To me, it's an answer to my prayer, as I was part of it. Anyway, just want to share that. It's a good feeling when God allows you to be a part of something so much bigger. And never underestimate the power of little old people that can pray.